I'm Brian Dunning, and I'm a card-carrying skeptic, and I have been ever since I learned there was such a thing. I'm basically a science writer, and like so many other people in my field, I came to this by being excited about weird stuff when I was a kid. I had all of the books on ghosts, on UFOs, on Bigfoot, on the Bermuda Triangle. You name it, I was obsessed with it. I read all of these books. My bookshelf had probably 50 of them in it, and I made my parents buy me new ones whenever I saw one in a store. I had this recurring dream about Bigfoot ever since I began reading about it, probably from the time I was 8 or so, and probably into my 20s. I would still be scared if I had to take the trash cans out at night, and it was very dark around the backside of our house and all these trees, and I mean, I didn't consciously think a Bigfoot was going to get me, but I was still scared, and I would always remember this dream. And the dream was I was in the car with my brothers, my dad, maybe some other guys. There's always guys. And we'd be driving through the mountains, and I would be seeing Bigfoots, like everywhere, darting behind every tree, or sometimes just walking along. Sometimes they'd even cross the road ahead of us. And I kept saying to everyone, look, there's a Bigfoot. Don't you care? Here's this big, giant, hairy monster out here that's going to get us. And nobody cared. And I couldn't understand why nobody cared. This is a very terrifying situation. But that was also real life for me. It wasn't just a dream. I would be so into these things in the books, and I would point them out to my parents and say, look, there's ghosts. There's these horrible things going to happen. No, you can't go on a boat that goes through the Caribbean because you'll get lost in the Bermuda Triangle. But at the same time that I believed all of these things, I was still naturally very skeptical. And I know that sounds like two very different things, but if you told me something about astrology or psychics, I never believed that. I never had religious beliefs. I never believed any of these things that kids would talk about at school. So there's this cognitive dissonance going on, because on the one hand, I believed all the weird things, and on the other hand, I believed none of the weird things. And I think that all of us have that going on to some degree. It's like I had blind spots because I just didn't have the tools to really understand what was going on. One of these blind spots I carried with me until actually just a few years ago. This happened when I was about 5 years old. My mom was a single mom. It's just me and my brother and the three of us in the house. And one morning very early, she woke up terrified, woke us up, made us all go into the living room. It's probably 5 in the morning. It's probably not even light yet. And she didn't tell us anything then, but later on, I learned what had happened. And she had woken up and felt the pressure of 2 hands holding her down in bed. And she couldn't get up, and she tried to move, and she tried to call us, but she couldn't talk because of all the pressure on her chest. And she didn't see who was holding her down. But she finally wrestled free and got out of the room, and that's when she came in and woke us up. And I heard her tell this story many, many times as I grew up. And, when you're 5 years old, it never occurs to you that your mom is lying. So I never thought she was lying. I always just believed that we had had a ghost in our house that attacked my mom this night. And because that was so deeply ingrained in the memory of a boy when I was that young, I still believed it well into adulthood. In fact, it wasn't until a few years ago when I was doing a Skeptoid podcast episode about alien abduction and the perceptual and psychological phenomenon that these people go through who believe that aliens come into their room at night and abduct them off into their spaceship. And I was doing a lot of research into the whole phenomenon of these nocturnal assaults, as they call them. Night terrors, sleep paralysis is the actual name. And as I'm reading about this, it's like, my gosh, this is exactly what happened to my mom. It was an episode of sleep paralysis. Check all the boxes. It was exactly what happened to her. And finally I realized, wow, How can I have been so skeptical all these years, but fully embraced and fully accepted this ghost story without any question at all? I'm Mr. Skeptoid. How can I be so wrong about something so obvious for so long? And it really made me think, gee, what other blind spots do I have? Because I know I've got them. You do. We all do. We all have blind spots we're not aware of. And here we are in this world where people actually die because of weird beliefs. They don't get their kids vaccinated. They take alternative medicine. They lose all their life savings to some pyramid scheme. It really shouldn't be an us versus them mentality, the skeptics versus the believers, because we're all somewhere along this same spectrum. We all need to be more skeptical. Me, you, all the people who believe all these weird things. But the problem is when you say, oh, I'm a skeptic, people say it's such a negative term. People react to it. They go, oh, you're the people who believe 9/11 was an inside job, or you're the people who doubt climate science. Where I'm like, no, that's not it at all. We really do need to take back the term. Take back the term skeptic from meaning something so negative that people distrust or scoff at into being the skill set that all of us really need to develop. Years ago, I finally got to meet Michael Shermer, been one of my heroes for a long time, great inspiration. And I look now, and here Skeptics Society and Skeptic Magazine have been doing exactly this, exactly what I'm talking about, taking back the term and helping people to develop these skills wherever you are on the spectrum. They've been doing it 25 years. That's so awesome. I sit back and you think, how many lives has that touched? How many lives has that impacted? It has probably saved lives. It has certainly made many more lives a lot more fulfilling. I am so inspired by that. I'm excited by that. And to the whole Skeptics Society, I say congratulations. That's a great, great thing. Anyway, go skeptics, go skepticism. I'm Brian Dunning from Skeptoid.com. Let's see, I said that. There's no way I'm saying that.